Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this new key 73 entitled The Energies. Alright, this is the second video, despite the fact that all of them they are independent. You can watch this one first and the first one afterwards, there is no problem. Without repeating what we say last time in the previous video, concretely we started with this very essential and very important topic, which is energies. Why is so important? Because this is the membrane, the bridge between metaphysics and physics. Meta means beyond, the hidden part and the visible part of the world. First, we saw also that everything is energy. Okay, as Einstein say, what you call energy, what you call matter is only energy for which the frequencies, the vibration has been highly reduced to be perceptible to our senses. There is no matter. This is what he said. There is no matter. The tangibility, what we think is hard and so on, is purely energy. So it's some forces, okay, vector of reaction, okay, of forces. This is the first one. The matter, as I say, is only energy. You are energy. You are made purely of energies, nature as well, and so on. And there is also emission and reception of this energy. The whole worldwide, whatever the nature, orchestration, whatever the human relationship and so on, is only an exchange of energies. Today we're gonna go a bit further, and that's why also it's very important. As everything is energy, you emit energy, you receive energy. But we're gonna go a little bit further today with the notion of resonance. That's to say, the communicating vessels. Okay, the notion of reciprocity, because you are passive, you receive and you emit. Okay, and you are crossed also through different energies. Okay, so but let's try to see the part 2, which is the micro and micro. Okay, individual and collective perspective. Okay, so the macro vision. Macro is big picture. Okay, is as national wide, international, and so on and so forth. Okay, micro is your environment. Okay, your friends, your relatives, your colleagues, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if we analyze in terms of macro vision, actually everything, if we analyze the heads of a states, the big families who have, the reins of the power, most of them, most of the time they have a lot of money. They even could not spend this all money during different lives. But what is their engine, in a certain extent, what is the dynamic currently and through ages and through the past? This is essentially the notion of power and supremacy. All the history has been animated through this quest of energy regarding the supremacy. Supremacy means a kind of power towards people. Okay, so it's a kind of energetic hands in a certain extent, for which whatever a nation, a state, and so on, big families, even the hegemony, for example, from Europe in the past, especially with colonization, from British, from French people, with the language and so on, from states, and or recently, more currently, with China and so on, with the Confucius institutes. All this is a quest of energy. Okay, this is extremely important. Okay, the notion of empire and so on, all this is a notion of quest of energy on humanity. All right, so then if we can see the quest, the dynamic of the world, the exchange of the world is essentially the quest of resources, and the resources are necessarily the quest of energy. And if you analyze the power struggles, the alliance, the war, the colonization, all the conflicts are based on the battle of energy. Well, that's one of the most important issues nowadays is the fact that our system is based on, we talk about sustainability, okay, sustainable economy, growth, and so on. But the paradox, I gave course for MBA students in finance. Okay, so I know a bit the question of systemic and economical financial dimension. And actually, what is interesting is a nonsense, because, to make it short, the system is based on infinite evolution, growth. Okay, otherwise stagnation. I mean, to be stable would be the beginning of the end. It would be the beginning of a stagnation. Okay, and thereby a collapse. So it has been always boosted, the economy worldwide. I mean, through the debts towards who? Rich people, poor people, everybody. Except that in between the reality and the stock market and so on, there is wind in between both, because this is just the belief that you can resell and so on. So this isn't a bubble. This is a pure illusion, but it's work like this. So the paradox is everything has been based on scarcity. The scarcity, rarity, what is it? It is, for instance, why gold has a certain rate. Okay, why it costs an equivalent of money. For the simple reason that we don't find gold every single morning, okay, in your garden and so on, except if you're lucky. But imagine if tomorrow everybody find golds, and it's completely prevalent is the abundance of gold. God, regarding the notion of offer demand, if it's like herb or plants and so on, it means that it's accessible to anybody. Okay, so the rate would decrease drastically. So the notion of rarity is a big problem, because you know all our resources are limited. Okay, especially the dark gold, petrol, right? So, but a thing interesting, I definitely believe, and I do the parallel because this is the new paradigm. I do believe in wholly in the gray matter. What is gray matter? It's the brain. It means the creativity. Why I teach in the orphanage of Bali, and we are building a new evolutionary school or revolutionary school that I depicted in Sage Passage, Utopia, the book available on my website for free, and also in the key 46. And why I have this notion of transmission, I think it's so important, is to, and let's say education is 45, sorry, the key 45. Education, we need to reinvest in this notion of creativity. Why? Because as Einstein said, you cannot solve the problems with the same mindset which created it. Okay, so we need to think out of the box. How to find some new solution if we invest, if we teach more creativity, intuition, and so on at school. I propose 125 exercise to stimulate your creativity and intuition. Okay, if you want, you can also watch the video creativity and intuition, key 38 and 39. Giving you some of them, some keys, some. Why it's so essential? Because we will have to reinvent all the structure of our system, economically speaking, science, medicines, and so on. So it's extremely interesting and fascinating. Okay, why some, quote mark, small countries reach such a high level of consciousness and so on? Why? Because there is within the education, national world, they invested a lot through research and development, through the creativity and so on and so forth. And you will see, you will be creativity and the notion of intuition, empathy and so on will be taught in the future. It's obvious. Depending on which direction we want to go. But I stress to you that to change this notion of rarity, scarcity, and to reach abundance, okay? Abundance doesn't mean that you have access to everything. It means you also rationalize your needs. You know, do we need a ski station in Middle East? I'm not sure. You know, do we need Wi-Fi everywhere in the Pacific Ocean, for instance? I'm not sure. Do we need 365 dress? I'm not sure, and so on and so forth. You understood my point. It means that in a certain extent, this is also up to us to create this new paradigm, okay? Be the change that you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said many times. I mean, I quote it many times. You know, this notion of the notion of even the resources are important, and also is metaphoric. Why? Because we can consider, you know, the fossil energies. What is it concretely? It is the strats, geological strats, like Cretaceous, Jurassic, and so on and so forth. Okay, what is it concretely? It is the old shells of for millions years, and then it's some it's like ashes, and then it's like you know, yeah, it's the stratum. Okay. And then concretely, what is it? What are the petrol and so on? What it is? It is the cell memories of Mother Earth in a certain extent. So currently we are transmuting it also. Okay, for the good, for the bad. Okay, I'm not saying that the pollution is good. Of course not. It's not that bad. I'm not afraid that we will not have forever this, and it's, for me, it's positive side. Because we will be obliged to access to a new free energy and so on. But the key question is free energy. Why? It has been known for more than one century now with Nikola Tesla, and why it has been destroyed, and I mean his laboratory has been destroyed by JP Morgans and so on. And why they didn't want to continue to finance his projects, for the simple reason that if the free energy is accessible to anybody, there is no market anymore. So they don't earn any money anymore, despite the fact that at this stage, normally it's not a big deal. Because if they have access to abundance like everybody, why keeping this abundance? You understand the point? But the question is now, are we mature enough as a humanity for having access to that? Let's take an example. Nuclear, okay? It's like a knife, huh? It can do positive things and negative things, okay? But when you see what we did with nuclear weapons, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and so on, Chernobyl, and so on, yeah, we can be perplexed. We can just wondering if we are, as humanity, enough mature or not to have access to free energy. If it's to consume like crazy, you know, the principle of abundance is exactly the process of having, for example, all inclusive in a hotel. Okay, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can have access to a buffet. Okay, so but are you obliged to take 3 plates and then you finish like this because you are completely full and is not super comfortable? Okay, probably among the 3 plates you will waste half of it. Okay, you know, basic things. If the entire world, I mean, no, let's make, if China is consuming as much as states, we need 5 planets. And if the entire world consume as states, we need 20 planets. Okay, do we have 20 planets? Some people are trying to find, but I don't think it's the solution. Okay, it's like putting the dust under the bed. So the key question will be also, are we enough mature to access or not to this? I invite you to meditate on that. But you know, this is something I'm always wondering since I'm a kid. I was thinking regarding potential aliens. I was thinking sometimes, maybe they don't want, they are afraid, they observe us as really animals, doing wars and so on, what the principal things that a kid understand perfectly, which is a nonsense to kill people and so on. I know it's cliche maybe, but sorry about that. a good fresh reminder. But yeah, maybe we have to prove something before that we are able, capable, and mature enough. And this is for me part of awakening. Awakening doesn't mean an accumulation of knowledge and so on to show off, or spiritual ego and so on. Not at all. This is basically enlarging the field of consciousness and your heart as well. Otherwise, this is bullshit. This is culture. This is, masturbating. This is just, this is only that. And to try to think more collectively, also keeping our individuality, keeping this in mind, the fact that we need the duality to experience the unity within, okay? Unity, Y-O-U, unity, and play on the word. Let's continue. So, this was the more, let's say, the notion of macro dimension, meaning that everything is linked to energy, the quest of energy, resources, and so on. Let's go even closer, okay? The micro environment, as you say, your relative, your friends, your colleagues, and so on and so forth. Everything is a transferred communicating vessels regarding energies, okay? You know this notion of the archetypes, like the life orchestration for family, for the patriarch, the killjoy person, and so on. And the couple, the one who has more ascendance, the notion of ownership, possession, jealousy, all this kind of thing. The friendship, the submissive, the victim, the profiteers, and so on and so forth. All these archetypes and a notion of transmission or sucking also the energy. This is the notion of the leaders or the followers, and or also the notion of the energy vampires. Those who suck literally your bad energy, your energies negatively, or those they are always complaining. This is what we call in psychology the Calimero syndrome. Okay, Calimero is Italian characters, always crying. Oh, the life is really unfair, and so on. Always complaining, and so on. And some people, I'm sorry about that. Some people, I'm not saying everybody, they identify themselves to the depressed states, and they keep this for 30 years. Okay, almost. I know I suffered more than 6 people suicide in my family, and we are more favorable for depression. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I lived it when I was young, till 18 years old. I wanted also to suicide when I was 18, and so on. So I'm not saying that it doesn't exist to be depressed, of course not, and it can be punctual. But in a certain extent, sometimes subconsciously, there is this is what we call in French literature is spleen. Okay, spleen is a kind of nostalgia, and this is quite comfortable. Why? Because you cry and you have a shoulder, like a mommy, oh, he's taking care of you, and so on. It's like when you are sick, when you are a kid. In a certain extent, there is a part of yourself who love it, because you don't go to school, mommy or daddy are taking care, you have the right maybe to watch more cartoons and so on. You're a little bit like, it's the same principle in a certain extent of the Calimero principle is the fact to like, because you will have a shoulder, okay, someone who will complain, okay, for you, or poor you, and so on, So I lived it, and after a certain time, I realized that I appreciate this moment. It's like the notion, the archetypes of is more feminine part, but watching very sad movies and eating ice cream and so on. There is a good moment also with that. You understand? It's like, it's a bit romantic and so on. But anyway, I think you will understand. But what is interesting, this transfer of energy, is to take care and to be careful of the energy vampires, the parasites, the toxic people, narcissistic and so on, who are sucking your energy or your environment. This is mimicry or mimicry, I don't remember. But anyway, it's just the fact that we are like chameleon. It means that we soak, we infuse the energy of our environment. If you are with only killjoy people, always complaining, far, and so on, you will be affected through them. You will soak the energy. That's why it's very important to have positive people around you and so on, and to avoid, toxic people. To go out also of the, the triptych, the executioner, the victim, and the savior. I say in a book, but it's not translated in English for the moment, is The Dictatorship of Good. He explained why you could not create new programs, patterns like this, archetypes like, okay, victim, executioner, the savior, the mirror, 5, the destroyer, 6, the peacemaker, 7, the transmuter. Okay, transmute means literally to discharge, neutralize the poor energy into luminous energy. This is the principle of alchemy. Okay, and 8, the absoluter. Absoluter, what does it mean? It means to find back your divinity, and thereby, because the absolute is the metaphor of the living, of God. Okay, but anyway, every time the notion of energy is through ego. I say many times there is a key if you want to deepen regarding ego, is the key 9. Okay, I like to say, and this is in Sage, is in Saint Synthesis of Saint Theses. Okay, accessible for free from my website, and also in Sage Passage Utopia, also for free in English. And I say the following: the ego is like a black hole. Certainly, it is at the center of our existence. Its attraction and repulsion allow the stability of life. However, if badly managed, it can absorb everything in its path towards nothingness. This is important because it's matter of fact, and this is a principle of physics. The black hole is attracting, okay, attracting everything, okay, but thanks to that there is counter force of expansion. Okay, so when I say ego is a good master, is not sorry, lapsus, is a bad master, but is a good servant. It means that it's not bad that there is leaders and followers and so on. This is not let's say a big deal. This is the some roles, like in a piece of theater there is some orchestration and so on, but it's not really but it is interesting, and I invite you to see this notion of power, ego, through family, couples, friendship, even in a company and so on. Those who are really into the career, and they want to to ascend, to have to evolve in the hierarchy and so on, to have worked 7 years in big giants, big groups. I can tell you that it's really funny. I mean, funny in a certain extent. Let's continue going further with this notion of communicating vessels, that to say interconnected vessels. What is it? Or connected vessels, concretely? This is the notion of, the transfer of energies. What does it mean? It means, I told you, for the toxic people and so on, but just take a look on this example. You are on Monday nights and you did a lot of party the whole weekend and you are really down. After you work, so 7 o'clock, you say to yourself, I should go for running, like jogging, and or to sport, anyway. And you have no motivation, you're too exhausted, you're tired, you just want to go home and to sleep. So you don't have the energy, okay? And finally, by miracle, you find a certain extension of energy to go for running, for example. At the end of 1 hour, you finish, and then after a good shower, I feel better now, and I feel re-energized, okay? How come? Where this you took on your reserve, on your stock of energy, how come you're activate something. This is something I really invite you to think about it. Imagine, second example, someone is a bit depressed, okay, and you are not at the top of your game. You are, is a metaphor, 50% of your energy, low battery, okay, 50%, okay, and you talk to someone who, friend of yours, a bit depressed, for example, he broke up and so on. Okay, so you try to give some tips, some help for reboosting him or her. Okay, naturally, we think that if you have 50% of your energy and you help your friend, you will give this energy, a part of your energy. So at the end, maybe it will be reboosted at 20%, and you will have 50% minus 20 that you gave, which is 30%. No, it doesn't work like this, because it's better laid down. If he has 20%, you will not be, let's say, debited. You will be credited almost of the same force. It means that at the end, you will vibrate more, maybe at 70%. You know, of course, this is a metaphor, but this is more than a metaphor, because this is also neurons, and also the activation of one thing very important, hormones. You know, the neuroplasticity and so on, the activation, the neuroscience demonstrated that one of the 4 hormones of happiness, okay, is what we call oxytocin. Oxytocin is very, very important, like drugs. You feel in euphoria for the simple reason that you have the feeling to be useful and to belong to something higher than you only yourself. What does it mean? It means that when you help people, when you are in an association and so on, you have the feeling to do something good, for example. You activate that. So what does it mean? For example, when I do charity in the orphanage, and when I do this video, do I earn something? Not at all. Just for the pleasure, eventually, to transmit something. Well, some people would say, oh, it's shit and so on. When I see the number of English speaker people, I say to myself sometimes, why should I continue like this? It's like this. I did my job. I do what I have to do. People is the buffets. I cooked with my heart. Then did I say sometimes, oh, please like, and so, I never said that to people. Why? Because you are not stupid. You're not kids. If you want to like, if you want to help me to transfer and to, is up to you. I will not check. And also likes and so on. I don't care about that. I mean, it's not that I don't care. What I wish, I dream. It's just that people understand that it vibrates and it helps people. Otherwise, I would not do. Okay? This is very important. This is from deep. But when I say that, it's not to get a medal. It's just to invite people to do so. I mean, as long as it vibrates, and not necessarily videos, but let's say to share, to transmit. Happiness is even more true when it's shared. You know, when you share a sorrow, you reduce it. When you share happiness, you enlarge it, you improve it. Why? Because this is the notion of what we saw with the notion of the resonance. The resonance, what is it? Is what we call a domino effect and butterfly effect. You know, the little butterfly just with the wings creates by amplification, dimension, a tornado. So the butterfly in Asia creates a tornado in Europe, for example, or States, or whatever. This is because you have helped someone. This person will help other people, and so on, so far. Okay, so that's why it's really important as well to consider, not necessarily to change everything and so on, but just to do your little part. I mean, and also because we feel better when we do. Be the change that you want to see in the world is from Gandhi, is also operational. You know, it's what Rumi said. He said, when I was young, I was smart. I wanted to change the world. Now I'm wise and I change myself. You see, so Why? Because in the notion of resonance, we are the universe within you, universe, Y-O-U. When Rumi said, you're not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean within a drop, it means literally this. It means that only the fact to activate within you participate to the collective awakening. Okay, so the more you awake, the more I awake, and so on. Why? Because we are replication. We are communicating vessels. And this is, you know, this notion of resonance. I can give you another example. Is the fact that a small part contains the entire pattern. Okay, this is what we call fractal holographic. Fractal, Mandelbrot, is the basis of computer. You can find on internet. He's a Swiss scientist. But it's regarding spirituality. This is what we call the Indra's nets. What is it concretely? You have a spider. Okay, here nets, and with the little drops in the morning, actually they reflect the entire pattern of the nets. This is exactly that. So why I'm talking about that? Because it's also the principle of the genome. Genome, your genes contain the entire pattern of your DNA. Okay, that's why when you have a fingerprint, sorry, you can have and recompose the entire body of the person. Okay, so this is this notion, and if you vibrate positively, you will integrate, you will change your DNA, and the entire body of your DNA, the entire DNA, which is replication everywhere. Okay, another example regarding this notion of resonance, because everything is interconnecting and entangled. As I told you, I give a course for MBA for finance. The notion of you know, the systemic dimension in finance and economy. I'm always using this metaphor. Is, you know, the hola, H-O-L-A in Spanish means hello. It's happened, you know, it's when everybody does, and it's creating in the stadium like a wave. Actually, it's happened by force, according to the legend, but it's the metaphor. In the stadium for the World Cup in Mexico in '86, and a guy apparently wanted to see the goal, and then he wake up apparently, and then so hiding the vision of those behind, and people with the domino effect, a lot of people wake up like this. And in front they saw it and they say, wow, it's marvelous. Okay, so they reproduce artificially after, giving a certain extent the tempo, the rhythm, and it created. Why do I try to explain it through this? Our system is based on the belief that it's working properly. The crack in last century in States in 1929 is just the notion of a rumor. Okay, so a rumor spread and saying that there will be a crash, so collapse. So everybody went to take its money, or shareholders, shareholders, and so on. So it affected, and actually it's created the fruit of the fear and the rumor, the gossip, which was fake at the beginning, but with real consequences. Why is interesting and also scaring as well? It's not rational at all. It's not rational at all. If tomorrow Elon Musk, or I don't know who, is saying, let's invest toward this technology and or this company and so on, the rate of the action, the shareholder will increase immediately. On the other way around, if you say, this is bullshit and so on, imagine it can affect and destroy the company. So it's too much, let's say, responsibilities on certain influencers, and in parallel of that is not rational at all. Let's take the notion of to highlight this point. 2 years ago, more than 2 years and a half ago, in March 2020, okay, We don't know exactly what's this disease. If it is like the new pest in Europe, destroying half of the population in Europe, or this is just punctual. At this stage, nobody knows. Okay, and even it was in February. In February, so we ignore a little bit. I mean everything, and at this period of time, the stock market is affected immediately. Why? Because the fear, but the fear is not rational at the beginning. But it does create a domino effect as well, because some people were afraid, then the media use it. I'm not complaining about the media, I'm just saying media is offer demand. A lot of people focus on that. It was, by the way, the central point. We were talking only about that. That's why some people who launched their channel only based on that, but they increase. Huh? Anyway, what I'm trying to say that is very important, and to be cautious and to be careful about that, because this is not a prediction, is not a forecast, is what we call a co-creation, is a co-realization. Okay, this is what I try to explain in the key 41 or 43 regarding destiny. Okay, if you're convinced about something, you will co-create. But the thing is that if we are all, let's say, crediting a form self like an egregor, if we are all think everything will collapse, this is the end of the world and so on, we will go on that way. But if we all think positively, with not only positively and waiting and not doing anything, of course, not with pragmatism, practical, operational things and so on. That's why it's so important to continue to believe, and also to have a good mindset, and also operationally to do things, to help people, to be benevolent and so on and so forth. So, but why? Because this is the notion of egregors, we will re-explain, but the egregors are form self that we credit like small drops, okay, according to our mindset. We credit it, and by return, this egregor will nourish us by return, okay? So, is chicken and egg. The more people think in something, true or not, it becomes reality, okay? Why? Because there is like condensation of the droplets, and then it's like, it's a metaphor, of course, and then it's like condensation, a cloud, a big cloud, and then rain, okay, on materiality. It means if tomorrow, for example, the certain points of there is a threshold, a critical threshold. What does it mean? It means after a certain limits, we convert into an access to a certain form of reality. What do I mean? If you put a drop of milk into the coffee, instantly it becomes brown. Okay, it's the same principle. Let me talk about the 100th monkey. This is a scientist perspective, a bit controversial, I do agree. It was in the 50s. Some Japanese scientists, they did some research regarding a race of monkeys on a certain island in Japan during 8 years. They observed them, and they realized that they used to eat sweet potato, except that it was full of sand. Okay, so it was a bit bitter, so not good. And one luminous monkey find a good solution to clean it up, okay, with water. So he ate, and he realized, or she realized, probably she, realized that it was definitely better. So he tried to teach these luminous ideas to the tribe, okay? Some people adhere, some others they refuse, they reject, and so on. What is interesting, after 8 years, so this new behavior spread, okay, over 8 years. But after a certain point, okay, a critical threshold, let's say randomly, maybe there was 10,000, or yeah, let's say 10,000. And one of them has been, so they reached 100th monkey doing this. Instantly, immediately, this same night, the whole 10,000 monkeys of this tribe are there and behave like this. You understand? It's like it was an update, and because they reach a certain point, paf, the entire race of the community has been affected. But the worse or the better, all the same race of monkeys on remote islands experience exactly the same during this night, without any contact with them, without any let's say advice, teaching, and so on. So this is fantastic for the simple reason that it means that we don't need necessarily to be half of the population to access to this golden period of this 5D and so on and so forth. We need to continue individually to be benevolent, to be helpful with people, and to vibrate positively, essentially, and to be convinced it's going to happen because it's already present somewhere. Okay, I invite you to check maybe different other keys, 15, 16, present time, space time, and also the key with the transition. Was the key 70, I think, transition towards the 50, okay, the golden age, Aquarius era, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope that it will talk to you a bit. I hope it will help you for you to shape your master key to open up the doors of love, of consciousness, of whatever you want. As you know, all the roads lead to Rome and to the Dome. Thank you for your attention, and see you very soon.